In today's History in Action, we look at Mussolini, the Italian fascist dictator, as he might have been presented in a television program made in 1934, when he was at the height of his career. Last month, two of Europe's most powerful political leaders met for the first time, Benito Mussolini and Adolf Hitler. They met in Venice, where the fascists put on a big show. Adolf Hitler is a rather new arrival on the world scene, although his dynamic leadership has already had effect well beyond the Germany he governs. But it was noticed that beside his very self-confident host, Hitler looked rather nervous. Although Italy has a king, it's Benito Mussolini who is Il Duce, the leader. He's no newcomer, but a powerful dictator who's written, "Fascism wants men to be active and to engage in activity with all their energy," and has stirred Italy into action. A dictator who seems already to have gone far towards carrying out his aim. I will make Italy great, respected, feared.
Pensiamo come una creazione della nostra volontà attesa dello spasimo della vittoria.
To those of us used to being ruled by Parliament with free speech and a free press, Mussolini's political style with dramatic gestures and the movement he leads, which is called fascism, may appear odd, at times even laughable. But there's little mercy for those who oppose him. Mussolini on a public platform certainly looks very different from other modern political leaders, such as Stanley Baldwin.
I cherish the hope that the national government will carry into fruition those things to which we were pledged, to which we...
Watch Ramsay MacDonald.
In order to perform that national duty, I've had to risk everything that is dear to a public man.
Compare Mussolini's style with President Roosevelt's.
This great nation will endure as it has endured, will revive and will prosper.
And Mussolini is very much more self-confident than Hitler.
Die große Zeit ist jetzt angebrochen, auf die wir 14 Jahre lang gehofft hatten. Deutschland ist nun erwacht. La vittoria è per noi, per I primi.
The reaction Mussolini gets clearly shows the power of his way of making speeches and the great support given to him by 40 million Italians. And his followers look very different from the political parties and rallies we're used to. The uniforms, banners, regimental shouting, and the old Roman salute, the upraised arm, have served as a model for leaders like him elsewhere, especially for Hitler in Germany. And in Britain, Oswald Mosley and his black shirts have copied Mussolini's political style and his violent methods.
Action! Let who dare follow us in this hour!
Has Mussolini learnt any publicity tricks from the communists or influenced their propaganda methods? The movements look the same in many ways. Like the Russians, who've used film with great effect to glorify their revolution, Mussolini also knows that film can be useful in politics, as American movie tone showed us in the late 20s. Premier Mussolini was the first foreign personage to make a talking picture.
I am very glad to be able to express my friendly feelings towards the American nation. Friendship with which Italy looks at the millions of citizens who from Alaska to Florida, from the Pacific to the Atlantic, live in the United States, is today deeply rooted in our hearts.
Mussolini seems to have such confidence in himself. How many other leaders might now copy him? Into how many countries will fascism spread?
In the life of both nations.
But of course, it's not just as a brilliant persuader or propagandist that Il Duce is known. Much more, it's for what he claims he's done for his country, which used to be thought of as something of a joke by other Europeans. Between 1919 and 1925, Mussolini promised many things to his people: political stability, law and order, prosperity, social reform, and empire. Italy wants peace and quiet, work and calm. I will give these things with love, if possible, and with force, if necessary. The workers, he said, know that fascism wants to put nothing more than order and discipline upon the nation, and to help give it strength to renew progress and prosperity. They've nothing to fear from the fascist government. Their just rights will be protected. Carpenetti's painting gives this official view. Well, how far has Mussolini kept his promises? Is the charge that little is happening in Italy except propaganda justified? Albertini, a liberal, not a fascist, has said Mussolini has given the government freshness, youth and vigor, and won favor at home and abroad. He has saved Italy from the socialist danger which has been poisoning our life for 20 years. This fear of socialism has made many at home and abroad turn a blind eye to Mussolini's harsh methods. But as Italy now has firm government and law and order, long-term planning is possible. It's prepared the way for Mussolini's most original idea, the corporate state. Anti-fascist cartoons show how the working classes are often being held down by a brutal fascist regime. Beatings and forcing people to drink castor oil have indeed happened. Cartoons also show Mussolini supported by big business and other powerful groups with money, wanting their own way. So how do these views fit with the official description of the aims of his new corporate state? The fascists claim that each person should work for everyone's benefit, not for selfish gain, and that neither socialism nor capitalism can produce this, so both must be held back. In 1925, Union power, which had caused so much trouble and damaged trade after the war, was checked by the Vidoni Palace Pact, which forbade strikes. Negotiations on wages, hours, and conditions of work now must take place within corporations, which have developed since 1926. In each corporation, employers and employees are equally represented, with expert advisors and, as well, 3 fascists there to see that decisions are in the interests of the state. Soon there'll be 22 corporations, each responsible for one type of employment, for example, education. Local councils now elect regional councils, which elect a national council. Last year, Mussolini, as Minister of Corporations, announced that the National Council would replace the Parliament, so that laws would be made directly by those who work in the factories and fields rather than by politicians. Churchill is one of the many politicians who praise these plans as a very promising development. And the idea seems to have influenced men as different as Mosley and Roosevelt. But the promise is for the future. Critics point to the present corruption of the fascist leadership. Well, what's the economy like? If we look at how our press and newsreel companies show us modern Italy, we might think Italy is still a country of peasants, orchards, vineyards, and wine festivals. But remember, modern industries have grown. Industries such as Fiat, Pirelli, and Montecatini chemicals. Oil refineries have been built. Production of artificial silk has gone up by 8 times in the textile industry. The production of iron and steel has almost doubled, each by the same amount, from 0.3 million tons in 1918 to 0.5 million tons in 1930. Railways have been modernized and now run on time. Some steam trains have been replaced, as 5,000 kilometers of line have been electrified. Indeed, electrical power has almost doubled. Trunk roads, or autostrada, sweep their way across the country, as the Times described on October the 29th, 1928. The road connecting Rome and Ostia, and called the Road to the Sea, has been made as far as possible in a straight line, and will also have 2 tracks for slower vehicles. The road will be lit by special